Hello, my dear church boys, and welcome to St. Robert's Daygame Pickup Podcast. And today we'll talk about something that many people around you have probably said to you when you told them that you're approaching random girls on the street, girls you don't know, girls that maybe are 5, maybe 10, maybe in 20 years younger than you. They might have said, "That's so stupid. Talking to at least 25 random girls every week. Dude, you're really, really weird. What the fuck? And why? Like, how many girls do you have to talk to sleep with one of them? Oh my god, 50 girls. I could do it so much faster. You're so weird because you're talking to random girls." And not only that, but when you think about day gaming long term, let's say day game after 3 years, after 5, maybe after 10 years, 10 years in the future. And if you think about yourself still running down the same streets, doing the same front stop and stopping this girls, preferably the same age that you're stopping right now. And when you think about it, it is kind of weird. So we'll talk about why it is weird and why you shouldn't really be hardcore day gaming 10 years in a row, and there are different approaches, and actually the hardcore part of day game is maybe, I don't know, 6 months. Definitely you should be day gaming hardcore, but maybe after a year, maybe after 2 years, day game can become something a little bit different in your life. It can be just a part of your game, and it can be that catalyst that changes your personality, changes who you are and how you live your life. And that is in the core of, in my opinion, in the value of day game. It changes who you are as a person. So we will talk today about whether talking to hot girls is something you do, you force yourself to do, or maybe it becomes a part of who you are, a natural part of who you are, how you behave in public, etc. So that's what we'll talk about today. Before that, a few small announcements. First, as you know, I do this podcast every week, maybe every other week, depending on how busy I am with my schedule. And if there is anything more I want to share with my audience, maybe some layer reports, maybe new ideas, maybe upcoming trips, or some questions for the podcasts I have planned, then I usually send all that stuff out to my mailing list, or I post it in our Daygame Church Telegram group chat. For example, last week I interviewed one of the biggest names in Daygame community, James Tusk, one of the most known Daygamers. And if you were on a mailing list or in the group chat, then you know that I sent out an email saying, "Hey, what do you want to ask him? Anything you want to ask, I will ask him. So send me your questions." So if you want to be sure you don't miss things like that, make sure you are subscribed to the mailing list and you are on the Daygame Church Telegram group chat. You can join both by going to my website, strobert.blog, that is strobert.blog, and fill out one of the forms to join the mailing list. And the second thing I want to mention is, well, I'm still in Budapest, and I will be leaving Budapest next week. I'll be going back to Latvia for a few weeks, but then I am going to Poland in mid-October for a few weeks, maybe a month. We'll see. I am coaching a student in Warsaw, and I will probably also check out Wrocław. So I'll spend a bit of time in Warsaw, a bit of time in Wrocław, and kind of figure out which city I like more for game and spend some time there. And if you want to join me on a day game trip and do some get some day game coaching, then this is your chance, because Poland is fairly open to travelers. If you are from European Union, it's very easy to get in Poland. There is no mandatory 2-week self-isolation, nothing like that. So Poland is one of the places in Europe that is easy to visit if you are a citizen of European Union. And so if you want to take day games seriously, and if you really want to commit and take the big leap of faith, if you want to call it like that, and get some coaching, really learn the foundation, all you need to know about approaching girls on the street and what to do on dates, etc., in a few days, so that you can take your day game to the next level and finally know how it works, finally know all the small nuances. Because as you know, I'm very technical in my coaching and I explain things very much in depth. That's one of the like the biggest things that students always tell about the way I coach. And after the coaching, obviously you'll have the autumn and the winter, which is, in my opinion, a great time to spend on kind of solidifying your game, making it solid, and working to improve it. Why? Because autumn and winter is harder time for day game. It's harder to learn day game. So if you learn day game, if you do coaching and then you have a few months of kind of tougher day game, it really toughens you up. And let's say if in the autumn and winter you make your game good, and then the spring comes and the short dresses come and you already have solid game, you are golden. I think that's the best time to learn day game, because if you can survive autumn or winter, then you can survive anything. Whereas if you learn day game in the spring and then you kind of learn it, polish it over the summer, then the autumn comes and it's sometimes a little bit depressing. So everyone does coaching in spring or summer, whereas I actually learned day game in autumn, and I suggest autumn is a great time of the year to learn day game. So if you want to know more about the Poland trip, prices, dates, etc., send me an email to robert@strobert.blog, or go to my website and just go to the day game coaching part of the website, which is like on the top menu, and fill out the form there to apply and find out more. Also, I wanted to thank the guys who, after the last podcast, started supporting my degeneracy on Patreon. It's definitely something I didn't expect. I didn't actually expect anyone to give a fuck about it, especially because I haven't even uploaded any infields there yet, or I haven't even uploaded any analyzed student sets there, although I have found sets to analyze, so I'll do that. I'm really glad to see that you guys care about that and you decided to support me on Patreon. And especially big thanks to the guy who wanted to stay anonymous for his let's call it donation, which will get me through, I don't know, like 3, 4, no, definitely like should be around 5 dates. His one donation should pay for 5 dates, so I can go and try to fuck 5 girls, which is amazing. Thank you, dude. Thanks a lot. And if anyone else wants to support my degeneracy, then you can go to my Patreon page and see what it's all about. The link is below this. If you're watching this on YouTube, then it's in the YouTube description. If you're listening to this on iTunes or Spotify, then it's in the podcast description, or simply go to my website and find this podcast episode there, and there will be a link to my Patreon page. Once again, thanks everyone who supported me. And now let's get down to our subject. Let's talk about how talking to random girls and day gaming in general is, or it might be viewed as something stupid. And there is some truth in it that we'll talk about today. Well, when you start learning day game, it's really, really exciting. I know, yeah, it's really scary when you start out. And when guys start out, I remember when I started out, the scariest, the biggest thing for me was overcoming approach anxiety and doing those first approaches. Every time I went out, I was really, really struggling to do that first approach. I haven't met many guys who have struggled with approach anxiety as much as I did when I started seriously. As you probably know, I was walking around almost every day for 2 hours for 2 weeks before I did my first ever day game approach, and that was amazing. Finally doing it was incredible. But after you overcome approach anxiety, which seems like the biggest thing in the world, and once you kind of deal with it, you realize that that's kind of just the first step, and you only get started when you overcome approach anxiety. And it turns out it's not that big of a deal, but it is like the first step, the first like entry to day game, the first time you overcome approach anxiety, and you actually not just give a compliment to a girl when you're walking by or someone who's standing, but you actually do a real front stop. You stop a girl wherever she's running and you deliver a compliment. You do the pre-opener, opener, the compliment. Maybe you even try to stack there to get that conversation going. It's scary as fuck, and that first step is incredibly, incredibly tough. That's why I kind of love helping guys overcome it. But once you do that, once you kind of know you can do it if you really want to, it becomes really, really exciting to learn day game. All this going out almost every day, meeting other day gamers, talking to chicks, overcoming that fear every day, working on your game, recording your sets, and then you finally start to get numbers, you finally start to get dates, and it's just so incredibly exciting. And when you start to get your first dates, you go on that date and you see, wow, this date is so much different than all my Tinder dates or whatever were your like online dates before, because this chick views me completely differently because I'm this guy who approached her on a street and no one does that. And you realize how different those dates are, and you learn to escalate instead of going to on 3 dates. You learn, okay, I should escalate on the first date. I should do what Robert said on his daygamecourses.com videos, like, oh, do the first venue, then like this is how you get the girl to the second bar, this is how you start touching her, going from things like checking out her accessories to actually going for the kiss, trying to pull. And when you're starting to experiment with that, you're starting to kind of see that there is so much more in the sexual world than what you used to, and you can take a girl who's a good girl, a nice girl who doesn't sleep with guys on the first date, or doesn't do crazy things. You see that you can pull her home on the first date and she's excited to sleep with you on the first date because you're this guy, you're this brave guy who wasn't scared to approach her on the street and who kept leading. And at some point, I've learned that girls told me that, like, oh, this date, like, I was a bit scared. I was a bit nervous when I went on a date with you, Robert. Blah blah blah. But I saw how confident you are. I saw how you knew what you're doing. I saw that, okay, this guy has been on dates. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to make this nice for me, and how to be confident, and how to make this date feel natural. And girls often say, I just decided to follow you and to let you take me on this journey, on this date, and just let myself go and see where this ends. And when you learn that, when you see that on your dates and you start getting laid with those good girls, and when you get your first same day lay, maybe if you were really pushing your game and breaking down your limiting beliefs, you start doing what very few day gamers are going for. Seriously, very few day gamers are going for threesomes, and maybe you start having your first threesomes with two girls you met on the street, two girls you day gamed. I know the easiest way is to have one girl that's bisexual and already sleeping with other girls. Well, the fun thing is taking two girls that have never had anything to do with other girls and setting up the threesome. I mean, you know both of those girls from Daygame. That's an incredible feeling. And while you're doing all those things, while you are kind of taking it to the next level, to the next level, to the next level, it's it's so exciting. It's you just can't wait to go out again. You go home, you read books, you watch videos, you consume everything you can. You listen to podcasts, and it's this initial time when you day game, this first year maybe. Well, for me it was like a first year was the most exciting for me. After that I had to find little tricks to trick myself into kind of being excited about day game. But don't get me wrong, I'm still very excited to day game. I just know that I have to go to new cities to day game. I just maybe need hotter girls, or I have different kind of tricks to trick myself into doing more sets and loving day game. Because if I'm in a one city, I kind of get bored after a few weeks and I don't day game that much. So then I move to the next city, or it's a different type of girls or different kind of approaches to game. But I'm still very excited to go out and day game even after all this time. At the same time, day game only accounts for, I don't know, maybe half of my lays every year, maybe 2/3 of the lays, but I'm not even sure about that. I haven't checked, but it's somewhere between half of my lays and 2/3 of my lays. My other lays come from different places. Like sometimes it's a bar. I might start chatting with a cute bartender and get her number and take her out and sleep with her. Maybe it's friends parties. Maybe it's starting to talk to a girl on a beach. Maybe it's some stuff I do for work, even when it's even when it's something about seduction. I used to do these BDSM seminars in Riga, and I had when we announced it, we published my Instagram there as well, and I had these new girls following me, and I would follow them back. I would do a bit of, let's call it Instagram game, where like there are a few nice things that you can do to kind of see whether a chick is actually interested when she follows you. I talked about it on the Instagram game podcast. I think I published it, I don't know, somewhere April 2020, so you can go and look at that Instagram game podcast if you want to know what those things are. So, and those chicks followed me, and they said, I want to go to your event, but my husband wouldn't go with me, and that's so sad. And I said, and I kind of moved it into direction. I said, well, we'll do a private demonstration about sex and BDSM, and I would have chicks just follow me on Instagram and then go on dates with me and sleep with me just because their husband wouldn't go to a BDSM class with them and wouldn't explore those things. Some ladies have come from my hobbies, from, I don't know, girls that I have trained in different cities in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, for example. That's something I've done, but I'm really careful with that. You have to be really careful with podcasts and schools and work. One of the earlier podcasts was how to sleep with girls from school, university, hobbies. So listen to that if you don't want to kind of make stupid mistakes. And a little side note, like actually learning to do this, learning to sleep with girls from work and social circle in general is a good thing to do if you are in a place like, let's say you're in LA, in USA right now, where there are very strict restrictions because of COVID. So I have a student that's doing a mentorship with me. That means that over several months we're doing 12 Skype calls, and we're talking about game, and I'm making sure he keeps going out, and we keep working on different things he has to improve. And we did a call with him a few days ago, and he says, well, I can't go out, but because of my work, because of what I do, I meet so many chicks, and it's just incredible. And he explained how he knows his boss is completely okay with him seducing those girls, because that's what his boss has done in the past, and he's just given him a green light. And so we actually spoke with this guy, what is a system he could use to, in a very calibrated way, get laid with chicks he meets because of his work. And that's something you can also do. So what I'm saying is, even though I'm still very excited to Daygame and to go out, it's not my only source of girls. I still meet girls in very many different ways. And if you think about your life and Daygame, and obviously living a single lifestyle for years isn't what many guys want. Many guys actually want just to find a few regulars and then just see those regulars, maybe travel and be able to seduce girls in different countries and kind of get regulars in those countries. But not many guys are actually thinking at their future 10 years ahead and thinking, oh yeah, what I want to do is I want to chase 18-year-old girls on the main shopping street 10 years from now. And if you think about it, if you do Daygame just exactly the same way you do it in first, let's say 6 months, first year, then doing it the same way 10 years later is kind of, to me, it sounds weird. And I know there are daygamers who've been daygaming for 10 years and who daygame just as much as in the same way, using also like a lot of canned material 10 years later, who are doing really, really weird stuff, like using outfits to portray a different personality, to see whether that works better with this type of girl, that type of girl. And it's all, in my eyes, it's all very, very fake, and that's not something I want to do 10 years from now. And you might think, well, what the fuck do you want to do 10 years from now? Well, you might ask yourself, you might actually right now be asking yourself, what is it that I want to do 10 years from now? Do I want to still be running around and daygaming and doing 25 sets each week and like counting my sets and doing all the stats? Well, stats are important. Going out constantly is important. But right now, I'm not that strict about keeping stats anymore. And don't get me wrong, I think you should be doing that. You should be keeping stats for, like, I don't know, until you get to the deacon level. You get your like first 30 Daygame lays, maybe first 50 Daygame lays. You should be doing that. But When I think about what I want to do as a day gamer, as a man, as a guy who is chatting up girls, well, I don't want to do it as a drill anymore. I want to enjoy it. And so the question is, what do you want? Do do you want day game to be something you are doing and seducing girls to as something you are gonna consciously doing 10 years from now, maybe 3 years from now, maybe a year from now? Or do you want it as part of your personality, something that is like a part of you that you cannot just imagine your life without? Let's say you are going to the gym and lifting, you'll be doing it for 10 years. Well, are you I don't think it's the same as lifting for 6 months, because after 10 years lifting isn't something you do, it's part of your personality, it's something you are. It's the difference between doing something and being someone who does a certain activity, whether it is lifting or whether that is chatting up girls wherever he goes, and that part of him, it's like a part that he cannot be seen without. It's such a natural, integral part of his being, and that's how I look at myself right now. That's how I look at myself in the future. Just as an example, we had this story. I think I spoke about this on the last podcast. Maybe I didn't. I don't remember. We were with some guys out at an amazing rooftop bar in Budapest, Hungary, and we were like five guys, me, Mario, and some other guys, one of whom turned out to be a pickup coach as well. And there is just one. Most of the people in the rooftop bar were kind of like in their 40s or something. They weren't like the kind of girls you would go for. But there is this one table with these beautiful girls, and as we were walking to the bathroom, Mario says hi to one of the girls, and girl says hi back to him. But Mario just says the hi as a drive-by. He just says it while he's walking past to the table and goes to the bathroom. And I noticed those girls are looking at us several times while we are paying for our drinks and kind of getting ready to leave. And they keep looking at us several times. They're chatting, and I can see they don't get, why did he say hi, a drive-by hi, and never came up, never came to talk. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, he said hi, so that's amazing. But if that's part of your personality, if chatting up girls is part of your personality, then go back in, talk to those girls. And I try to encourage several guys that, hey guys, these girls, they want to talk to us. Like, if anyone wants to open, go. If not, well, like, I can't help you. Since no one went in, I said, okay guys, I'll see you at the next bar, but I'll go and chat with them. And I went to the table, I opened directly, I said, hi girls, I'm sorry, we're ready to leave, but I just had to say you're like the cutest table at this bar, and you are the only foreigners I have seen in this bar. That's so weird. I thought we are the only foreigners. You were the only table speaking English. That was my stack. I wanted to figure out where they're from. And we had an amazing conversation. I had an amazing conversation with three girls. I took the number of the hottest them, and one other girl from that table said, oh, that friend that came by and said hi and never came to talk to us, can you give him my number? So I take the other girl's number, I give it to Mario, and well, what happened later was I went on a date with the hot girl, and Mario went on a date with the other girl. And Mario actually, in less than 1.5 hours, pulled that girl and he fucked her. She was a proper yes girl, and it just happened. So the question is, what do you do in a situation like that? You are in a bar and there is a table of cute girls. Do you go talk to them because that's what you want to do? You would want to talk to those girls, or do you say, oh, I don't know, what's the opener? Should I do indirect? Should I ask for an opinion? Or what should I do? Or what's the technique here? And that's fine when you are learning. Let's say you're day gaming, and for the first 6 months you're just doing a structured approach to day game. You know your pre-opener, you know your opener, you know like a few stacks that were good for you and other things in a set, like you've learned that in infield coaching or in your own whatever. And that's what you're doing. You're just drilling that. But after a few years, if you are in a bar and you see a table with cute girls and you are not opening because you don't know opener, then you've lost something in your day game journey, in your evolution as a day gamer. Well, it's fine that you don't know what to say, okay, but go open. Like, use the dumbest opener. It doesn't matter. Be direct, be indirect, ask for an opinion, give an observation. I don't know, like in a movie, spill a drink on them accidentally. I don't give a fuck. But if after a few years of day gaming you are not capitalizing on random situations, not because you should, but because you see this beautiful girl that walks in the gym and you don't know what to say, well, I don't know. Come up with a stupid opener. Do an open. It's not like you've been day gaming for 2 months and all you can do is you're a one-trick pony, which you should be when you're learning. When you're learning, you should be a one-trick pony. You should just be day gaming, day gaming, day gaming. But afterwards, you should feel good in very different situations, whether that's a gym or you go to a friend's party. I had this. So one of my friends, his wife got doctor's degree, and I was invited to the celebration party. And I see this rock and roll chicken walk in that party, and I'm like, yeah, well, I guess I know what I'll do tonight. And of course, the party ended. I took the girl for another drink to a bar, and we ended up fucking a few hours later. That was a very official event, a very serious event. But in that event, I saw a girl I wanted to approach. I didn't know how to do that. It had to be very under the radar because, well, everyone knows everyone, and a lot of people there knew what I do for a living, at least the people that knew me. So it had to be under the radar. Otherwise, everyone would be understanding would understand that, oh, Robert is picking up this chick and he's just gonna fuck her like all the other chicks. And oh, what the fuck? I should warn that chick. She's such a slut if he goes with him. If she goes with him. So I had to keep it under the radar. In the bar, I had to go back in after someone else said hi. I had to reopen. And there, in the gym, I had opened with the dumbest lines, and that's kind of a skill you develop. It's not about knowing the structure, knowing what to do. It's just about going there and fucking doing it. So what I want to say with all of this blah 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 podcast, which this episode a little bit is, the goal isn't to day game like a one-trick pony forever. It isn't to use the same openers and the same stacks forever. The goal is to become good in day game in a few months and then just make it part of your personality. Day game is this big dream, this kind of living this lifestyle, knowing how to sleep with girls, traveling and getting laid in different cities. It's actually pretty easy to get to that big dream, to get to having good game and to be able to sleep with girls in your city or when you travel to different cities. It's not hard if you're learning day game in the right way. If you are learning day game for more than 6 months, then remember, learning day game consists of 3 parts. And you have to kind of deal with all of them. First, you have to put in the volume. You have to do 25 sets a week. And if you're doing 25 sets a month and you're focusing on, oh, what did I do wrong in this set, and how should I like approach this girl, and oh, she flaked, what should I send her? Well, if you're not putting in the volume, then you can't fix much with working with better texting or with small nuances on dates. You need volume. You need more, like a bigger sample size to focus on. You can't expect to have like 25 sets in the beginning of your kind of sales funnel, let's call it like that. And if you have only 25 sets there and you get like maybe 10 numbers, if you're really, really good on the street, which you probably aren't, let's say you get 5 numbers. Well, in my statistics, out of 5 numbers, I get 1 date. So you can't expect to get much results. So number one, you have to put in the volume. You have to get in those 25 sets a week. And in the beginning, I thought it's something you should do before, like it's like the first thing. Well, if you're learning on your own, yes, that's the first thing you should focus on. If you are starting with day game coaching and that's your kind of big step into day game, and you are doing like 3, 5 or however many days of day game coaching, and you get me to kick your ass and to do those sets, then obviously you will do a lot of sets. But then you can kind of skip this part. You can skip doing those 25 sets a week before coaching, but what you have to focus on is keeping up the good work and doing 25 sets a week after the coaching, and really making sure you do that. And if you don't, then talk to me and I'll help you get to those 25 sets a week after the coaching. So first part is putting in the volume. Second is learning Daygame in the right way, whether that's recording your sets, or using the right material, or hanging out with the right wings and discussing game with the right wings, or learning during an infield coaching with me. Whatever you choose. Well, obviously, if you've been learning for more than 6 months, and if you're not good at Daygame, and if you're not getting laid, you should. If in 6 months you haven't learned Daygame to a level where you're getting at least one lay a month from Daygame, preferably two. Like two is like a decent minimum you should shoot for when you're Daygaming actively. If you're not at that level, then like seriously, just get coaching. It's clear that something's wrong in the way you're doing it, and you can be one of the guys who keeps doing it for years and really not get anywhere like most people. Or just get coaching and learn that shit, learn what to do in those sets. And after that, there's the third phase, which is to keep going out, to keep working on your game, to not miss more than a few days of day game until your game is really, really solid. Because if you miss those days, if you skip a week, then you lose a lot of the skill you learn. So it's crazy important to keep going out for the first 6 months, for the first year, and really, really polish those skills. And if you learn Daygame in this way, if you are doing enough volume, and if you either learned on your own or got coaching and learned the technical part of game, then you should be good in a few months. You should be getting laid in a few months, and you should be able to go to different countries and get laid in different countries after, I don't know, 6 months of daygaming. I think is more than enough to be really good. And if you already are really, really good, then it's well, let's say if you are getting laid, let's say your lay to open ratio is you get one lay out of let's say 60 opens over a good sample size. I think 1 out of 60 is kind of like a threshold when you go from not understanding how you're getting laid to kind of understanding all the fundamentals of game, and then getting to 1 out of 30 is kind of discovering small nuances you're doing wrong, and discovering what is exactly the type of game that you are good at, what are your strengths in your, what are the strongest parts of your day game, and maybe what are the things you shouldn't do. Maybe like in my case, I do a lot of verbal stuff, and I talk about really, really fucked up topics, as you guys know. But someone else is very kind of chilled out, very physical. So other guys are really high energy. It really, really depends. And if you are at that level of 1 out of 60, maybe 1 out of 50, then I think it's time to take your game to the next level. It's time to start thinking about not being a one-trick pony and making seducing girls, chatting up girls, talking to girls, trying to sleep with them not something you do, but make it a part of something you are. Make it just a part of your personality, and there are great ways to do that. And you can what you can do is you can simply start talking to girls wherever you go. Maybe you are in a bar and a table next to you see a few cute girls, or I don't know, something like that in a bar. Go chat to those girls. Maybe you start chatting to a bartender. Next Friday I'll publish the podcast that I did with James Tusk. And he had an incredible story about the way he started chatting with a bartender at the bar, and it ended with some crazy shit. That story is incredible. So listen to that next week. Or maybe you're going to a friend's party and you see a few cute chicks there, and you chat with one of them, you chat with another, and kind of you see where it goes, and you learn to work that kind of scene. Maybe you're on a beach and you see a chick. Well, try opening a chick on a beach. Maybe try seducing some chicks at work or university, or hobbies or anywhere else. I don't know. Well, do it everywhere you go. Make it part of who you are. Don't be afraid to show it to the world, even if you are with your friends, even if you are with your married friends, even if you are with your female friends, and show that that's part of who you are. And maybe they'll say, oh, what are you doing? That's so weird. Well, yes, that's so weird, but treat it as a frame test. When your friends say that game is weird, look at as you would look when a Russian girl asks, oh, but what are you looking for? Where are you from? What do you want from me? Why are we going to this bar? Yeah, look at it as a frame test and treat it accordingly. Don't react to it. That's what you do. That's part of your personality. If anyone has problems with that, that's their fucking problem. You shouldn't change your game or your attitude towards life or towards women and your willingness to be single and sleep with many beautiful girls, have amazing regulars. Well, you shouldn't leave that just because all your friends are married and they don't understand that. It's, yeah, just make it part of who you are. And the thing with bar game and friends parties and the beach and work and hobbies, all this social circle stuff, guys think it's like a different set of skills, and guys want to learn all of that as separate skills. Like, oh, there's this DVD on social circle game. How I build a social circle and get laid there? Oh, that's so amazing. I have to buy this. It's so cool. Yeah, I'll spend 2,000 on that. And what the fuck? Well, maybe it's because it seems easier. It's to guys who are new to Daygame and who haven't put in the volume and haven't really learned the game and aren't getting results. They might think, oh, social circle game, it sounds so amazing, I should learn that. Well, I've spoken to many guys like that, and I have gotten the idea that most of them want to learn that because it's not as scary. You don't have to cold approach, you don't have to talk to random chicks, and social circle might be fun if you're 25, but if you're over 30, then your social circle isn't 19-year-old chicks, and if it is, then you have a really weird social circle. uh, and yeah, guys want to learn that from different models and books, and there's some separate skills. They believe there is a different model for each of those situations, but there is not. The seduction dance is the same in all the settings. There is the attraction part. Obviously, you have to open, then you have to work on the attraction part, you have to work on the comfort part, then you have to work on the seduction part, which is like mystery method, the three parts of mystery of model mystery used. If you don't know it, then just at least read first part of mystery method. I honestly have not read all the book, but I read the beginning, and mystery explained attraction, comfort, and seduction like no one else I've heard. And first time I understood hook point was because of Mystery's book. He's amazing at explaining hook point and different parts of seduction model. So you don't need separate skill sets for different scenarios. All you need is you have to learn to be really, really good with girls in one setting, in the most effective of settings. Obviously, different people have different opinions, and I'm a day gamer and I'm a day game coach, so I obviously will say that day game is the most effective way to learn to seduce girls. But I actually think it is, because you're sober, you're out on the street, middle of the day, and you can use those skills in any other setting. Night game is a completely different set of skills, and using your night game approach in day game will often not work. Just as if you want to do night game, and if that's your thing, if you like going out 4 times a week and staying up until 6 a.m., you shouldn't learn day game, you should focus on night game. But for anything outside of night game, if you want to learn that, I think day game is the best way to learn those skills, because the same skill set is applicable to almost any other social situation. It's also probably one of the scariest ways to learn seduction. And when you learn day game the right way, you will learn structure and you will learn techniques. But structure and techniques are just training wheels. And once you can take them off once you know how to seduce and sleep with hot girls. I would say once you get to a deacon level. If you are in our group chat, then you know that in our group chat we have several levels of members. We have someone who just joined, But then we have deacon level. Deacon level, obviously, Daygame church. So it's from church. In Catholic church, there are several levels of I don't know how you call them, servants or whatever. There is deacon. There is I think next was priest, and then there is bishop. I might be wrong about the sequence, like in the order, but whatever. And if in the group chat someone has deacon next to their name, it's like the first real level, the first level of good day gamer, and it means you have at least 30 day game lays. So once you get to that level, I think you're good enough to take off the training wheels, and you can ease up on structure and techniques on and copy paste stacks. And if you're learning the right way, you should be getting laid after a few months, and you should be at a level where you can travel and get laid in different cities in maybe, I don't know, 6 months, maybe a bit more, but shouldn't be much more than that. And I believe that once you get to the deacon level, you should approach in very different situations: coffee shops, bars, I don't know, table next to you, social events, meetups, whatever. You should be developing your different parts of your. You should be using game in any setting you can get yourself into in life. Maybe ease up on the structures, just because, yeah, make it part of who you are instead of just what you're doing. If you are not yet at getting 2 new lays from Daygame at a month, and you want to work on your Daygame skills with me, then as I said in the beginning of podcast, I will be going to Poland mid-October for a few weeks, maybe a month. And if you want to join us and really take your Daygame to the next level, and you understand that just as in sports and many other things, it's much easier to do it if there's someone who looks at what you're doing and sees things you don't notice and points them out and tells you exactly how to fix them in a very technical way, then send an email to me, and I'll send you more information about the trip. But you might ask, well, I'm not that good yet, and I'm not getting laid from Daygame that yet. But is it okay if I already chat girls up at bars, parties, beach, work, university, hobbies, etc.? And of course it is okay, and you should be doing it. Maybe don't do it at work because maybe you're not calibrated enough to do it at work, and you might have problems depending on what kind of company you work for and which country it's in. So maybe avoid work because it's a highly fragile environment, but everywhere else, yes, you should. Uh, the important part is that is just as a little cherry on the top of all your day game sets and all the day game you are doing. You should still be focusing mostly on learning a structured day game in the streets, because a structured day game is the way you learn how to interact with girls, you learn how it works, and you learn to get those crazy dates that I spoke about in the beginning of this podcast. And you get those experiences, and those experiences, the crazy experiences you get from day game, change you as a man because they open your eyes to things that you thought are impossible. When a student who hasn't had that many lays in his life or has never met a girl from the street, you have to see what happens with that student after he goes on an eye date with the girl from the street, and it turns into a date, and it turns into a pool home, and it turns into a same day lay. You have to see how that shift, what's the shift that happens in their head. It's incredible, because yes, you've heard about the stories, like my stories and other guys' stories, you've read about it, but you understand them in your head, but they're not fully part of your reality. And once you start doing that, once you go on that eye date and you pool and you have that same day lay, and you realize it's a reality of your world, and you start getting those crazy adventures, that changes you as a man. That's why you should do structured day game. That's why you should learn structured day game, because that drilling, that those by going through those experiences, you completely change as a person. And then, instead of day game being something you do and talking to girls and seducing girls being something you do, it becomes part of who you are as a person, and it completely changes you. So, what you should do? You should still focus on doing your 25 sets a week, but on top of that, if you are at a friend's party and there's this cute chick, go talk to that chick, see how it goes, see what happens. Maybe something happens, maybe it doesn't. If you are on a beach and chilling out and there's this cute chick, well, go talk to that chick. It's just like approach anxiety. What's the worst that can happen? Like, you did those things on the street, you can do those things anywhere. You just face the rejection if there is a rejection, but maybe it's a same delay, maybe it's a crazy adventure. And the same is with hobbies and things like that. Experiment. Don't be a one-trick pony. Learn to be good at day game, but then make it an integral part of who you are as a person. And that happens naturally from all the experiences you go through. Well, guys, this has been a long ramble of a long avalanche of thoughts that I went through today, and I really hope this inspires you to take your day game to the next action, to really commit to it and see what it's all about and get those experiences. Because once you see them in real life, in your life, not read it on some blog, it really is life changing. So I hope this inspires you and changes you in one way or another. Well, it will not change you. It can only inspire you to do things that will change you. I hope that happens. If you know someone else, maybe a wing of yours that should listen to this, then send him this podcast episode. If you're listening to this on YouTube, give this video a thumbs up. Or if you're listening to this on Spotify or iTunes, then please go to my podcast page and leave this podcast a 5-star review if you liked it, because that helps me to reach more guys with advice that's technical and informative. And if you decide you want to go on a Daygame trip with me to Poland, then send me an email. And if you just like the content I'm creating and want to support it via Patreon, then there is a link to my Patreon page wherever you're listening to this, whether it's Spotify, iTunes, or YouTube. There is a link to my Patreon page, so go check it out. That's it for today. Thank you guys, and goodbye.